الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. To proceed, today's lesson بإذن الله تعالى, we want to speak about الجملة الاسمية, which, as you know, is one of the two types of sentences in the Arabic language, the other one being الجملة الفعلية, the verbal sentence. الاسمية is a one that begins with an ism. And as you're aware, الجملة الاسمية تتكون من, it comprises of المبتدأ and الخبر. So in today's lesson we want to speak in more detail regarding المبتدأ. And specifically, we want to speak about أحوال المبتدأ. So, the states of المبتدأ. مبتدأ. أحوال المبتدأ, or the states of المبتدأ, which is the first ركن, foundation or principle in al-jumla al-ismiyya. In English, it's usually translated to mean the subject, but in Arabic it's called al-mubtada'u, meaning the introduction. So what is al-aslu fil mubtada'i? What is the founding principle regarding al-mubtada'u? It is that it is a kalimatun, so it's a single word, ma'rifatun, and it is known with al or al-alifu wal-lamu. That is the basic principle that governs al-mubtada'u, that it is a single kalimatun, word, that it is ma'rifatun with the al-alifu wal-lam, meaning it's not a jumlatun, so it's not a jumlatun comprising either of another jumlatul ismiyya or a jumlatul fi'liyatu, nor is it what we call shibhul jumlati, meaning a phrase comprising of, for example, a harfu jarrin followed by an ism. Rather, it is a single word. So, to illustrate, therefore, if we say Allahu Kareemun, Allahu, how do we recognize it? It is an ism. We know it's an ism because it begins with al, and by it we introduce our sentence al-jumla al-ismiyya. Allahu is also marfu'un. It is the first state of ar-raf'u, raised. Wa alamatu raf'ihi, the indicator of it being raised or marfu'un is ad-dammatu ad-dhahiratu ala akhirihi, a dhamma upon the end which is apparent. So that we already know. It's not anything new that al-jumla al-ismiyya tabda'u bil-mubtada'i, it begins with al-mubtada'u. Al-mubtada'u is an ismun which is marfu'un, and it is ma'rifatun, it is known, and therefore begins with al. That's the root principle relating to al-mubtada'u. There are exceptions to that principle which during the course of this lesson and the next few bi'idhnillahi ta'ala we will speak about. Kareemun is therefore the khabarun. It's the second part of al-jumla al-ismiyya, and with it we have a complete sentence that conveys a beneficial meaning. Allahu Kareemun, meaning Allah Azza wa Jalla is generous. However, there are a number of other types of المبتدأ that we can begin our sentence with. So for example, we can say أنت طالب. أنت طالب. Now, in this example, أنت is what type of كلمة? We know that it is a ضمير منفصل. It is a disconnected pronoun. Right? A disconnected pronoun which is مبني. So أنت, regardless of its position and its function in the sentence, it is going to be fixed upon al-fathatu. So we say it is ضمير منفصل مبني على الفتح. In this instance, however, we begin our sentence with it. So we know, therefore, that we can begin الجملة الاسمية with ضمير منفصل. And therefore that is المبتدأ. However, as we mentioned, that المبتدأ must be مرفوع. We cannot say that أنت is مرفوع because it is مبني على الفتح. So how do we explain it? We say that it is a ضمير منفصل. We say it's مبني في محل رفع مبتدأ. That is grammatically how we would describe أنت. We would say it is ضمير مبني. We could say that مبني على الفتح, and we probably should. في محل رفع, in the position of being مرفوع. So if you watched or were present in a previous lesson in which we explained that i'rab can take place in one of three different ways, the third being al-mahalli, in the position of. So we say it is في محل رفع, it's in the position of it being مرفوع, and it is مبتدأ. What is طالب? Well, طالب is an ism. It is مرفوع. So we simply say it's the خبر, because we know it's an ism مرفوع. وعلامة رفعه, the indicator of it being مرفوع, is الضمة الظاهرة على آخره, and it is خبر. Right? So that's one instance where we have al-mubtada'u, which is not marfu'un lafdhiyan, in terms of the way it is spoken, the way that it is read. Rather, it is fi mahalli raf'in, in the position of it being marfu'un. So what you will find, therefore, is that all the other instances of words that we can use in order to begin al-jumlatul ismiyatu will all either be marfu'un lafdhiyan, as in Allahu Kareemun, as in al-waladu talibun, as in al-shaykhu hadirun, or there will be what we call fi mahalli raf'in mubtada'un, in the position of being marfu'un, being the mubtada'. So The first حال or state of المبتدأ is that it is going to be مرفوع أو في محل رفع. Of course, المبتدأ can also appear in the مجرور state. And why would that occur? It would occur if it is preceded by a حرف جر, which is what we call a زائد, an additional حرف جر, and we'll explain by way of example what that means. And therefore our المبتدأ is في محل رفع, but in terms of the way that it's written or pronounced, it will be مجرور. So what do we mean by that? If we say, for example, ما عندي من أحد, right? ما عندي من أحد, what does that mean? Literally, it means not عندي with me, from أحد, from anybody, meaning there is nobody else, as in a person, with me, right? This min here is what we call حرف جر زائد. It is an additional حرف جر which is not actually required. Why? Because what this sentence means, if we remove the حرف جر زائد, is ما عندي أحد. Right. So as you can see, if we omit the min, which is surplus, then أحد becomes أحد, because of course it's not going to be مجرور now. It's going to be مرفوع, as in its normal state. As an overview, the i'rab of these two sentences is that ما is حرف نفي مبني على السكون, right? So ما is حرف نفي مبني على السكون. What is عندي? عندي is an إضافة construct. It comprises of عند plus the e. So عند is ظرف زمان, ظرف زمان, which, if you're not familiar with, is an envelope of time, literally. ظرف زمان, an envelope of time. So it's talking about a particular time. E, this is an attached pronoun, ضمير متصل. Together, عندي, they form an إضافة construct. And because when you attach the E according to the rules of pronunciation, the dal huna takes a kasra. So what we say in terms of the i'rabun is we say that عندي مبني على الفتح, and then we say المقدرة على آخره. That's the second type of i'rab, that it is مقدرة. It's assumed to be there. So here in our sentence, that is assumed to be there. Of course it's not there, and the reason is because when you attach the ya here, al-ya'u, then for the rule of pronunciation, the dal takes a kasrah. So the fatha is assumed al-muqaddaratu ala akhirihi wa huwa mudafun. And this is the mudafun. The al-ya'u here is fi mahalli jarrin and it is together collectively what we call shibhul jumlati. Shibhul jumlati is when shibhul jumlati, that is when we have a phrase that either begins with a dharfun, whether it is al-makan or al-zamanu, or a harfu jarrin, plus we have an ismun that follows it. This damirun muttasilun is considered to be an ismun. All ad-damairu are considered to be asma'un. So, al-ya'u huna is majrurun. Why? Bil-idafati, because it is the mudafun ilayhi. Right, so what role does indi have in this sentence? Ma indi min ahadin. We know it is an idafatun. It comprises of dharfu zamanin and damirun muttasilun. It is therefore a shibhul jumla, and it is, as we say, fi mahalli raf'in khabarun. We say it is fi mahalli raf'in khabarun. So this is our khabarun. Right? So if we erase this here and we write this slightly higher so it's more apparent, we would say that indi is the khabarun. So, what therefore is al-mubtada'u? We say that, continuing, min is harfu jarrin zaidin. So this is an additional harfu jarrin. And we explained that it's not actually needed for our sentence as we demonstrated here. Ahadin. Well, ahadin is an ismun majrurun lafdhan. So we say it's an ismun majrurun lafdhan. So we say it is ismun majrurun lafdhan, right? Which is apparent because it is majrurun in terms of its pronunciation and the way that it is read, but it is what we call marfu'un mahallan. It is marfu'un mahallan. Why? Ala annahu mubtadأ, because it is al-mubtadأ. Mubtada'un. Right, is that clear? That ma indi min ahadin is an example of a sentence which is al-jumla al-ismiyya, but what do we notice about it? What's special? That al-khabaru is brought forward. It's what we call al-muqaddamu. It's been brought forward, whereas ordinarily it's delayed. Al-mu'akhkharu. Ordinarily it comes second, but here it comes first. Then our al-mubtada'u is delayed, what we call al-mu'akhkharu. And the reason why that happens is when you have al-jumla al-ismiyatu, whose khabarun comprises of shibhul jumlati, comprises of that phrase, either a prepositional one or one that includes a dharfun, then it's brought forward. That's the rule, that comes first, and al-mubtada'u is delayed, as in this example, because our sentence comprises of shibhul jumlati, that will come first, and that comprises of our khabarun, and al-mubtada'u will be delayed. But as I said, that the reason we mention this is because it illustrates this principle, that despite it being مجرور لفظا, it is مرفوع محلا على أنه مبتدأ, because it is المبتدأ, so therefore it must be in the position of being رفع or مرفوع raised. So if we look at this example here, which is this sentence but without the additional حرف جر, then we can see that أحد here is also an ism, but this time we don't say مجرور لفظا because there's nothing that has rendered it to be مجرور, rather it is مرفوع, and it is simply the مبتدأ, which is مرفوع. So this is an example where we have المبتدأ, which is delayed, المؤخر, and it is مجرور لفظا, but it is in the position of being مرفوع. And this type of construct where we bring forward the شبه الجملة and we delay المبتدأ and we have min as a zaid is not uncommon, because we have the ayah in Surah Al-Haqqah in which Allah Azza wa Jalla said فَمَا مِنْكُمْ مِنْ أَحَدٍ عَنْهُ هَاجِزِينَ, فَمَا مِنْكُمْ, and there is none amongst you, min ahadin, from anybody, anhu, from him, hajizin, as a barrier or somebody who can prevent, meaning that there is not a single person amongst you that can prevent us, meaning Allah Azza wa Jalla, from taking the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So nobody can be a defender of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam against his Lord. But if you look at the way that that ayah is constructed, then it's very similar in style to this one, which is a reason why we explained this example in greater detail. If there are any questions, then you're welcome to ask.